industry years ago.
Look how organized we are.
The old mill.
It is, right? Okay.
The burner.
Yeah. So we did have this is the picture, and I'll just pass it around here so you can take a look.
This would be right up there.
So there was actually 2 mills on site years ago. Armstrong Lumber Company and also Forrest Solomon put in a green end veneer plant, which was over here. The sawmill was more over here. Back before, in the early 60s, when they put the highway through, this property extended to the river. And the sawmill was over this way, and like I said, the veneer plant over here. So it was a green end veneer. I know there's been a lot of angst over the years about what they could have possibly put into the soil back in those days, you know, in terms of pollutants and contaminants and such as that. And really, for the green end veneer plant, there was no glues, no anything to lay up plywood. It was just making veneer, and then they were shipping the veneer off to different plywood, like Springfield plywood in Eugene or Springfield. Excuse me, I apologize, I got a frog in my throat here.
I like frogs.
It's probably a red-legged frog, that's why.
No, bullfrog.
No bullfrog. That being said, it was an active mill here, provided a lot of employment, a lot of opportunity for people in the day when the timber industry was big up in the Upper Valley. Forrest, his procedure, his mill, the veneer plant went broke, and the story goes that Seneca and Roseboro Lumber Company came together. This was industrial zone, and the biggest and largest industrial zone piece of property in the Upper Mackenzie. And the timber industry, really was the manager from Seneca at the time. I can't remember his name now, but he told Aaron Jones, he said, let's keep this in the industry up here in case somebody wants to re-establish a mill up here. And so Roseboro and Seneca came together, and they flipped a coin with the loser having to take the property. And Seneca lost. So they ended up with, according to the story, they ended up with the property and basically sat on it. Well, probably about 42 years ago, and the mill was shuttered. Both mills were shuttered, obviously. About 42 years ago, they had a road project up beyond my place above the school, and Forest Service road project, and all the end haul came, instead of dumping it into Cone Creek, the end haul came down past our place, past the school, and it ended up, and they filled in the majority, 3/4 of the pond here. And so that then established, and it sat there for several years and grew a lot of cottonwoods, and the elk would come through, and the deer, and people would walk through. And it sat there. The school was interested. When I was coaching baseball, I was interested in getting my track athletes, Jeff Sherman's track athletes, out of my right field, center field, and Rudy Osmond's softball kids out of my left field, center field, because we had to share the fields with the kids. We had no track. And so the idea for me, at least, was to move those guys out of the way, so we had a beautiful baseball facility, but I finally told my guys, I'm going to hit the baseballs out to you. You dodge Sherman's javelins out there, and if you live, you get to start the next game. And so that being said, we approached Seneca with our opportunity to maybe utilize this property maybe as a sports complex of some sort, so we could spread out. Well, Jeff Sherman's vision was to have a track, because he practiced along the highway here. And that was his track. Since we moved away from Blue River Park, which is where I ran track in high school, just around the Cinder Road, and jumped in the gravel there for the long jump. They practiced here on the highway, and Jeff had a pretty good program, but it wasn't a track. And that being said, so we kind of moved away from the idea of moving football or anything else up here. Baseball was kind of swinging down anyway, to establishing a track. And so that's how we approached the Aaron and Marie Jones family. That process went on for 15, 20 years. Ken was part of that. We went down and talked to him, also with the idea of maybe putting in some sort of cottage industries up on the upper end here, because at the time we were talking about the whole property. Well, our progress made it through printed, and that was about it, and a couple lawyer meetings and whatnot. But the seed was sown, so to speak, I think. That later, when those conversations came, and Jeff tried to develop a track at the school, which was kind of an odd shaped thing, and kind of like what Mapleton has. and it just wasn't going to work because it was up behind the school, and we had to do some excavating. It was over top of drain field up there and whatnot. And so I told Jeff, I said, let's go back to Seneca and see what we could do. And he said, that's a good idea. So started that process again, and a group of community members came together, and Seneca, with a lot of good, fruitful conversation, donated the lower half of the property to the McKenzie Community Tract and Field. And you can see the fruits of all those folks' labors over the years there. This site then continued to be held in the Seneca Jones family, and with the idea that maybe they would do something with it. And when this opportunity came to us to look at it, it was just, we thought, man, as a community, why would we pass up a chance now to you know, see this developed into something good for the community? And that was the idea that the Jones family presented, was the community would have to decide, you know, or could this community, I remember that question, could you think the community decide on something like this? And we go, well, you know how that goes. I won't share all the terminology that came out of that meeting as to what those kind of meetings might end up like, but we thought it was a good thing. And so here we are, standing here before you with the idea of trying to find out what, maybe, as representatives from your own community, what would you like to see here? Knowing fully well that there are limitations, but there's also opportunity. And boy, do we need opportunity up here in Upper McKenzie right now. Our conversations with county and state officials, and when they get on the ground here, they go, wow, what an opportunity. They see it, and we say, well, we'd like to be a community that's resilient. We'd like to be a community that's environmentally sound. We'd like to see some business up here so we can, you know, aren't just a pass-through community necessarily, going between the duck game and back to Bend. Or, you know, can we bring some people in that would buy some stuff in Blue River, that would maybe want to live here with some kids and put their kids in school? Because as Lee and I know, Margaret, when we went to school, and Connie, when we went to school here, that school was full. And there's capacity still there. And every one of those empty seats, I don't know what the dollars are now, but it's about $8,000, I think.
We went up from a B league to an A league for a short time.
We did. We played Pleasant Hill, you can imagine, and Crestwood.
Right.
Some of those. So there's opportunity. Can we put some kids in our school? Because a healthy community has a healthy school. And a healthy community has a healthy business section of some sort. And can we do that in a way that we still retain our rural pride and you know, a sense of wanting to be here in the rural, but can we embrace the future too in a way that we have control over? Because one way or the other, if we don't act, somebody else will. So here we are.